Hey everybody, my name is Danny and welcome to another episode of Talking Sanctuary. We talk off the cuff about board games and life itself. And in this video, we're going to be talking about first board game impressions. What makes a good first impression and what are my top 5 games that left a really long, everlasting impression on me as a board gamer. Stay tuned. So, first impressions. There are lots of things that I look for when I'm looking for board games that leave a lasting impression. And with the hundreds of board games that have been released all the time, each and every year, it's really hard to choose and play every single game. So you have to be quite selective about which games you really connect with and games that you're really intrigued by. And I often do a lot of research behind games that I'm interested in. I usually create a little short list, and then from that short list I go and investigate, watch videos, read the manuals, and try and understand what this game kind of evokes. So I want to talk about 5 board games that have left a really long lasting impression on me, and I think I need to get or invest in like a board game passport where every time I play a game for the first time I get a little stamp and track how many times I played it. But there are quite a few things I look for in board games when it comes to leaving an impression. First of all, it's the theme. I look for a theme that's not often used and themes that are unique as well, or there's a niche there that board games haven't really explored yet, kind of like uncharted territory. I also look for interesting mechanics or mechanics that have been reshaped or remolded in a slightly different way to make them a little bit more unique, and the marriage of those two together is what really draws me to a game. Finally, I look for the fun in the actual game itself. So when I play the game, does it offer some really interesting choices? Is it a fun experience? Is there a level of interaction there that allows me to socialize with the other people that I'm playing with? And those are the 3 main pillars of what I look for. The first game that I want to talk about is a 2-player board game that really left a huge impression on me. It actually surprised me so much that I was like, wow, this is so different to anything that I've played before. And I know there's a whole lot of 2-player board game fans out there, and a lot of those 2-player games evoke that feeling of being engaged in some sort of tug of war, shifting back and forth, kind of like Seven Wonders Duel. But this game just really left a great impression on me, although it was quite hard to learn because the rulebook was a little bit funny, but the game itself just really offered some great moments, and it was Haven. It is illustrated by Ryan Lockett, and it's basically a game where it's kind of like the forest versus the city people, and you're playing these offering cards to try and gain the appeal of these elementals that are wandering through the forest, and if you can gain them on your side, you can then obviously dominate certain regions of this map that you'll see on the back of the box. And you're kind of playing head to head, and each player has 3 unique decks, and from those unique decks you're just really versing each other and trying to gain as much area control over this map as possible. And then at the end of the game you score points based on the areas that you've claimed, as well as how much you've offered to each of the elementals. Haven is a beautiful 2-player game because not only do I love a forest themed game, but the way that the 3 decks are divided and they're manipulated, and the hand management that is involved in the game, and trying to play certain things and outbluff your opponent just really shines through this game so magically. And the second game that absolutely left a huge lasting impression, it was a game that I heard about quite a lot, especially on Board Game Geek, in the forums. I saw pictures of it and just really thought, this is a theme that's been used before, but for some reason, the fact that it's a Euro game that has got some really great, well-designed features, I just thought I had to try it out. And I've actually got the 2nd edition of the game here, and it's Great Western Trail. I actually own the 1st edition, and I played that one to bits, but I've recently acquired this one into my collection. Great Western Trail is a beautiful game. It is probably one of my top 5 favorite games in my entire board game collection. I love the rondel mechanism of moving around this track, playing with your hand of cattle cards that you're trying to optimize so that when you get to Kansas City, you can drop off the most powerful combination of cattle cards to then move that train along the end of the tracks to then claim different stations, claim bonuses, get victory points. But the beautiful mechanism that appears in this game is the fact that you can move along this trail and build certain properties along the trail, kind of like in Monopoly, except here you kind of go round and round and round the track, but everyone else's property is kind of in your way. So you can kind of stop at different players' tiles, use their actions, they'll gain a benefit, you gain a benefit, or you can stop at your own tile and you can go as fast as you want along this trail, or you can go as slow as you want. And there's even branching pathways too, so you can kind of exploit the mountainous region, or you can try and avoid bandits. There's so much in this game, and this second edition comes with these beautiful recessed player boards. So when you hire your builders or your cowboys and your conductors, you then can upgrade in those 3 sections. And you'll see on this little grid that that's where you acquire them from. There's so much elegancy that happens in this game where you feel like you build this engine, and as the board fills up with lots of property, you feel the game kind of building higher and higher and getting more and more powerful. And the sequence of those properties each and every time you play is going to be different. And the options that you have is plentiful. This is probably one of the best designed games that I've played. And the first time I played it, it just absolutely impressed me so much that I just had to get it. If you've been an avid long-time subscriber and follower of Board Game Sanctuary, you'll probably be aware that there's a certain type of game that I really, really love and adore. I think I might be a small fan of Euro board games. Make that a big fan, actually. But there's one theme that Euro games does that I really, really love, and that is a train theme. And this game, when it was released, kind of really didn't connect with me as much as I thought it would. But it wasn't until I actually took a chance and I decided to order the game and then play it for the first time, it absolutely just was, wow. Why did I hesitate in getting this game? It is Maglev Metro. I've played a lot of Ted Alspach games. I've played Suburbia, the Castles of Mad King Ludwig, and I absolutely love his designs, and One Night Ultimate Werewolf, I think, as well. The thing that really left a great lasting impression on Maglev Metro is the fact that it comes with player-colored perspex tiles. If you've ever looked at subway maps or train maps, you'll see that there's lots of different connections that do occur. But in this game, it's all about using robots and acquiring and picking up commuters and dropping them off and building stations, and using the commuters to upgrade your actions and unlock a plethora of different things that you can do. You're essentially building an engine, but also a network, and it is a really great pick up and deliver game where you pick up these commuters and you drop them off and you're trying to score points, and you're laying these perspex hex tiles on top of other hex tiles to try and create these networks and efficiency routes. And what really drew me to the game was not only the beautiful components, but the fact that you can unlock all these workers and robots to upgrade your actions, and the power of those actions just makes this one of the best train games I have played. Sometimes there's a game that comes along where every time you walk into a game shop, you see it sitting there on the shelf and you think, that's a game. I think I might look at this game over here. And then the next time you visit the local game store and you see that game still sitting on the shelf and you go, yeah, that's a game. And then you'll go and wander and look at another game. This is a game that has done exactly that. I've seen it so many times, seen it everywhere, and I've just looked at the game, and it wasn't until I played it at a friend's house where I realized how cool and creative this game is. It's actually a really simple game to learn, but it's just one of those games where I've seen in a lot of game shops, avoided it, and never really kind of explored it until this one moment where my friend introduced this game to me and I actually played it for the first time. And then as soon as he explained, I was like, I have to get this game, and ordered it straight away. It is Imiteb, Builder of Egypt. Now, the beautiful thing about Imiteb is that you are basically loading stones onto different sized boats. You are then placing those boats at different docks and unloading those blocks that were on those boats in a particular order to score victory points in different ways. It might be building a pyramid, building the tallest obelisk, or placing them in a particular way in a burial chamber and connecting all your colors together. But the absolutely delightful thing about this game is that it is highly interactive. You're deciding between when to move a boat and when to load a boat with certain blocks. And you're also deciding the order of how you're loading those blocks in. I mean, you might move a ship to another location so your opponent doesn't score those important pyramid points, or you might be moving a ship to a location that you want in order to exploit the positioning of the blocks on the map. This is such a rich and very simple game to teach, but it is so unique that it left such a great impression in me that I literally went home that night after I played it and pressed the purchase button. I even got some of the really cool 3D upgrades for the boats that you can get from Etsy, and it just really elevates the game experience altogether. And the final game that has left a really great first impression on me actually didn't leave a great first impression, if I can actually say that, because when I first saw the graphics for this game, I was like, I don't know if I like the graphics in this game. And then I looked at the rulebook and I thought, wow, this rulebook is so dense. How am I ever going to get anyone to play it? It was then only a couple months later where the game kind of reappeared again and I saw it again. I thought, this is a theme I really, really love, but I don't really know if I'm going to be able to make that jump into such a heavy game. And ultimately, I just thought, you know what? I'm going to buy it, I'm going to try it, and you know, the worst thing that can happen is I'll be disappointed by it and I might gift it or sell it to someone who might really, really want it. As soon as it arrived, I opened the box and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I actually didn't really care that the graphics were a bit funny, but as soon as I opened the cards and looked at the board, I was like, this is a beautiful game. And I've always wanted them to design a zoo game that was a little bit crunchier, a little bit more Euro-like, has really cool card combos and powers and maps and things. It is Ark Nova, and I cannot tell you that this game looks so much more beautiful in your hands than it does in pictures and things that I've seen. Ark Nova is probably one of my favorite zoo-themed games, and I've been waiting so long for something like this to come along. It basically is a combination, and lots of people have said it's a Frankenstein game of all these other games put together. Terraforming Mars, Civilization, Rajas of the Ganges with this whole conservation and appeal track. But to me, it's the elements of card play with the icons from Terraforming Mars, as well as building this really cool zoo map and putting all your animals into your zoo and conducting research and trying to solve this puzzly element that's laid out in front of you, as well as these 5 action cards that slide up and upgrade and you can flip them and give you more powers, and how these cards interact. Honestly, the designer did an outstanding job of trying to ultimately create this amazing game which provides players with a cornucopia of choices. This is brilliant. Obviously, it's got flaws, and there are some flaws that I might mention in another review later on, but ultimately, it's a game that I'm just so connected with. And if you know anything about this channel, there's always green stuff everywhere, like tanks and plants and monstera plants. This is just a game that fits so beautifully into my collection. It has risen to one of the top 5 board games that I own. And every time I play this game, I explore new combos, new ideas, new strategies, and new ways to kind of match and build the engine that I want to build. And it's just fun to explore. Thank you once again for joining me for another Talking Sanctuary video. Hope you enjoyed the little chat that we've been having, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about those 5 games. If you really like my videos, please consider hitting the subscribe button and the like button. If you really want to join and extend the conversation further, please head over to my Patreon page and my Facebook page. I just want to do a shout out to the Patreon supporters, and I want to say a huge thank you to each and every one of you for continuing to support this channel. See you guys soon. I hope your next board game experience is an incredible one. Goodbye.